Welcome everyone to the Mail Fuzz TV News Podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Still here.
I didn't think you'd be free today. I thought you were doing Star Wars celebration things all weekend.
I only got tickets for one day, so I'm going tomorrow evening to. I'm traveling tomorrow and doing the Sunday.
Oh, so you missed all the actual news parts of it.
No, there's more news stuff on Sunday. Well, the movie and TV news was today. There's
so the proper news, the big news.
The book news that I'm excited about is on Sunday.
Fair enough. I'll take your word for it. Not my area of expertise, but yes.
Shocking.
It's a TV news podcast. We get together, we talk about pilots, renewals, cancellations, series orders, all that sort of nonsense. And yes, that's what we're going to do. So we will get into things. We have not a lot of renewals and cancellations. In fact, out of the three shows I'm about to mention, I've only heard of, or I only remember one of them. The other two I've never heard of.
Okay.
So the Big Door Prize has been renewed for season 2 at Apple TV.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what it is either, but it stars Chris O'Dowd, apparently.
Has that started airing yet? Because
Yes, I believe it's currently airing. I think they're about to air episode 4.
Okay, they've not marketed this one very much.
I don't have it in front of me, but when I read this news earlier, I'm pretty sure it said there were only 4 episodes in or whatever. So,
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the Big Door Prize. Which honestly, I almost skipped over this because it sounded like a game show.
Yeah, it does sound like a game show. Maybe that's part of the point. I don't know what the show's about.
I don't know, being Irish.
Maybe he's an Irish game show host.
Cancellation side of things, the one that I do vaguely remember just because it pops up every so often is The Resident has been cancelled at Fox after 6 seasons. This was a medical drama of some kind.
Yes. That describes a lot of TV shows, let's be honest.
Yeah. I mean, if you put the word evil after it, I'm interested, but Resident on its own is just boring.
Was that show before called Resident Alien?
Oh yeah, with Alan Tudyk. Yeah.
People liked that one.
That's the paranormal spin-off from Resident Evil.
Yeah, it's the Alien one.
And then also cancelled is Sex Life, Netflix, which only had 2 seasons. So
Don't know what it is.
Bye to that. It's Sex/Life, just to be precise here. So there's a slash between them.
Still don't know what it is.
Yes. I didn't think that would be the clue that would give it away.
No. To be fair, names with a slash in like that are slightly more memorable if I've read them.
Sure, yes, it's not as common, but
yeah.
Sex/Life. Actually, sounds better if you say the slash. Honestly, Sex/Life.
Yeah, sounds more like a show.
Got more of a ring to it. All right, well, premiere date then, we got one for The Crowded Room, which is an Apple TV limited series that is coming on Friday, June 9th. I've got a description here for us, since you're probably curious of what it is. The Crowded Room follows Danny Sullivan, played by Tom Holland, a man who is arrested following his involvement in a shooting in New York City in 1979. A captivating thriller told through a series of interviews with curious interrogator Raya Goodwin, played by Amanda Seyfried. Danny's life story unfolds, revealing elements of a mysterious past that's shaped him and the twists and turns that will lead him to a life-altering revelation.
Okay. I'm interested purely because I don't think I definitely haven't seen any role that Tom Holland's done that's remotely like that. I can't think of any.
That sounds a bit darker. Like maybe he did it, maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
Because I saw the review's not out yet. It won't be out till the end of the month. But I did recently watch and review Uncharted, and one of the key feelings I had watching that is that Tom Holland, well, he's perfectly likable. He just plays Tom Holland. He just felt like he's Peter Parker again. I didn't get any kind of different vibe from him in that. But admittedly, it's another light-hearted blockbuster, so I mean, I guess what am I looking for?
It's got a similar tone. I mean, that it's aiming for. So I guess, but this feels like a wildly different project to anything else I've seen him do.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a couple of names anyway in there.
Yeah.
Period piece. That's something too. So
Yeah, might have some style to it.
it sounds like it might be kind of a gimmick show as well, where it's mostly the interviews that kind of do most of the story.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So yeah, that's 9th of June that is premiering. Right, we got one bit of general news as well, but this is relatively no big news yet, but it's worth keeping this in mind because this is the build up to the potential writer's strike, which
oh yeah,
we've got some news here. So basically, the vote is being called for the Writers Guild to vote on whether or not they should strike. The voting is going to start on April the 11th. At 8:30 p.m. Pacific specifically. They've been very accurate about this. And it's going to end on April 17th at noon Pacific. So they've got 6 days basically to vote. And there was some news this week as well of them, like they were supposed to like have like a 2-week break from meeting the whatever governing body on the Hollywood side the Writers Guild talked to.
Yeah.
Right. They were going to have like a break from meetings, but they've been scheduling extra ones. So this is clearly, I'm being reminded of last time where they're having extra meetings and they're going to work to the wire and they're going to
usually implies that they're getting somewhere.
Yeah. Well, the cause didn't sound like they were too happy yet. Like they weren't addressing the change in how the economy is particularly in the. But one of the big things that all the guilds are dealing with right now is that unless you're above the line, meaning the director and like the big cast names, like if you're not in that upper echelon of who's getting paid on a project, if you're just someone who goes to work at a movie or a TV show, if you're just someone who shows up to set and does their job and gets paid a regular wage, those people are all kind of struggling. Like the it's not quite as lucrative as it once was, so they're kind of, so the writers presumably are feeling that as well. And
yeah.
Then obviously the same thing as last time. I'm sure the debates over royalties with streaming services, how you get paid for shows on streaming services versus TV networks, all those debates. I'm sure they're still
and
contested.
I'm sure we spoke about this. I don't know if it was last time that this happened, or if it was just at some point since. I don't think if a strike does go ahead, I don't think we'll see the same impact that we had in years gone by with previous strikes. I think because of, obviously you'll feel it on network TV. That's inevitable. But I think with cable and streaming services, they'll just spread their content out slightly more. You probably won't feel the drought quite as much as you would have done 10 years ago.
I think it's like a gradual thing. You'll feel it most with network. I think you'll feel it less with cable, but you'll probably still feel it a bit more with cable than you would the streaming services. I think it's like a sliding scale, just because of the way that they have content in advance, and everything they'll be on post, they'll just sort of spread it out a little bit. But
I don't think it'll feel like, as well, in a post-pandemic world where we had a huge break of everything shut down, right, for months. If this writer's strike, it would have to go on like months again to have any sort of impact along those lines and to feel like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no debate in the pandemic felt like a bigger drought. Not at the start of the pandemic, but well, kind of. That was the weird thing. It wasn't just
it hit the network stuff almost immediately.
Well, that's the thing though. It wasn't just like the creation of content. The content that was already made was being held. When it came to movies specifically, content that was already finished was being held back because they didn't want to release it without the movie theater, without some kind of money making method. Understandably, so the drought across movie and TV for the pandemic was bigger than the writer's strike from 2008, but it was very understandable because everything was going on a break at that point. It didn't feel out of place there. Which, honestly, that pandemic being still relatively very recent in terms of like all the 2020 to like mid 2021 kind of like just absolute wasteland of nothing. That more than anything is probably the motivation for both the guild and Hollywood to come up with a solution, because they're probably terrified of like going anywhere near any kind of like drought via a
It is.
strike.
But also, I feel like for the general public who have just been through that huge drought, again, compared to any writer's strike that we've had before, I don't know if they'll feel it. After that, this won't feel as bad, right? No matter what happens, it just won't feel as bad as that.
Nah, that's true. Besides, I mean, what are the writers even coming up with these days anyway? They announced a bunch of Star Wars movies today, and all I could hear from the announcements was somehow a Palpatine returned. So
I hate that that's accurate. I don't know though. They have an opportunity for the funniest retcon of all time.
oh, if they retcon that, she's not a Palpatine. We swear. We swear.
Imagine retconning the retcon.
Mm, mm. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, that just seems worth updating on the potential strike and the
Yes,
ongoings of it.
yeah.
So that was the main part of it this week, is that the vote is being called for the potential strike.
So we will have news on that. Not the next time we do one of these, but the time after. We should have heard something.
Probably, yeah. There was a writer from, I'm trying to remember what show it was. I don't know, it's some cop show or something, but there was a writer who said that he was like on active service. Like, this was like a showrunner writer, not just like a regular writer, staff for him. There was like a showrunner of a show that was on recently, or maybe even still airing, and he's on active duty for the Navy again, just to help pay his bills, because what he's earning from writing isn't enough to do it. Now, admittedly, he's probably living in an expensive, LA or whatever is very expensive, but still.
It is, but the problem is, like, we go, the fancy people, they're living in the rich areas. They kind of have to.
Oh yeah, no,
it's not like a choice for a lot. I mean, the career was a choice, obviously, but once you're in that career and you've got, if you've worked your way up to being a showrunner, you kind of have to live in that area.
Oh, no,
shit, it's expensive.
If that's where the industry is, then that's where you got to live. Yeah, there's no. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, writing to an extent can be done remotely, but like.
Yes, but as we have again just learned in a post-pandemic world, just because things can be done remotely and can be done better remotely, doesn't mean companies will let you do it remotely.
Anyway, so yes, that's the Writers Guild stuff. So let's get into some new shows to talk about then. So we have the Comedies. Netflix has done something unique here. Well, it's not unique in general, but it's unique for Netflix. So this is just it's a comedy show that's in development, that's been ordered. What makes this unique, just for Netflix, not for anyone else, is that they, for the first time in the history of Netflix, ordered a pilot.
Oh.
They've not ordered a show or a season, they've ordered a pilot.
Wait, did Netflix just look at the rest of the industry they tried to destroy and went, hey, maybe it worked for decades for a reason?
Yeah, apparently this is not a sign of like things changing. This is the only pilot they've ordered. They're still doing things normally. Apparently they like the sound of this show, but they want to just get a sense of it and see how it works for an episode before they make any cut, which is what most networks do.
It's almost like the networks, had a good idea going. Where they could go, it sounds promising. Let's see how it works before we commit to this.
Yeah, baffling stuff. But so yes, they're working on Little Sky. They've ordered a pilot for Little Sky, a single-camera comedy starring and executive produced by Samara Weaving, who's something of a scream queen these days. Between Ready or Not, Babysitter, and a small role in Scream 6. So they've ordered a pilot from creator Writer Doyle, who's also set to direct the pilot. So yeah, Little Sky centers on Penelope Paul Porter, played by Weaving, who is determined to realize her lifelong dream of being a respected on-air news reporter, despite the fact that she may be the worst reporter of all time. When she receives an anonymous tip that the mayor of Little Sky is missing, she knows it's her chance to finally prove herself. Arriving in the spooky remote town of Little Sky, she senses she's on to a big story. But little does she know, she stumbled upon something much darker than she could have ever imagined. You dodged a bullet there, because that's not her hometown.
It's not, no. That sounds like a perfectly good premise for a comedy.
Not a long-running comedy, that's a one-season comedy.
Well, no. See, this is what the problem is. They called it Little Rock, was it?
Little Sky.
Little Sky. The problem is that they've tied it to that town.
They have,
More,
yes.
yeah. See, the premise of her trying to be a reporter but being terrible, that could go multiple seasons easily. But
Yeah.
because they tied it to this place that it's not where she's from, or what where
Which
her job
means
is.
all likelihood by the end of the season she'll choose to stay in the town, and season 2 is just her being a reporter in this town.
Yeah, they learn to love her there.
Yes.
And then they get sick of her by the time season 2 rolls around.
They're all misfits. She's going to fit in as a terrible reporter.
Yeah.
Excellently. All right. Ken Jeong is going to star and executive produce in a new comedy show called 10% Happier. It's in the works at Fox. It's based on Dan Harris's best-selling book and podcast of the same name. The single-camera comedy follows a man and mid-level juice company executive,
mid-level juice company at that,
who finds himself in a major life rut. After a panic attack at work, he has an epiphany where he realizes he needs to change everything about the way he lives in order to become 10% happier.
I might be 10% happier if I never heard that description.
Oh dear. NBC is making a sports mockumentary style sitcom.
So what happened is they saw Ted Lasso and went, "We want some of that."
Well, to be fair, mockumentary style though is NBC's thing. Like Parks and Rec, The Office, like they've done many of this.
I agree, but I'm still calling it as the popularity of Ted Lasso, and they're like, "Hell, we can do that."
Okay, sure, but they're going with the NBA here rather than.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
they got to at least change the sport. They can't copy it directly.
Stupid British football. It would be funny though if it was about an American who went to an English football team.
That would be ballsy as hell if they tried it.
Footballsy.
Ballsy.
Yes. So NBA legend Steph Curry is on board.
We know who that is.
Sorry?
We definitely know who that is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Curry is to star alongside Adam Pally in Mr. Throwback is the title of the show, which comes from Happy Endings creator David Casp and writing duo Matthew Liebman and Daniel Liebman. So the series is about a down on his luck memorabilia dealer. Dealer. A down on his luck memorabilia dealer. It's because it's right after memorabilia. I can't. They throw me off these two words together.
You really struggled even that second time when you were really thinking about
memorabilia dealer looking for redemption by reuniting with his 6th grade teammate NBA legend Steph Curry. It's in development at NBC. And that's pretty much it. So to be fair, it's it doesn't sound like someone who's actually working in the NBA is the central,
No, not straight away.
Well, things might go very well for him if he gets to the NBA.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
All right. So that's Mr. Throwback from NBC. Okay, onto the dramas then. There's not really much news to go with this first one, but it's easily the biggest story of the week. What was it? A super hip happening week for exciting TV news.
Does this mean it's the Star Wars stuff, and this is why you're so begrudging about it?
No, because that's not a new show. No, you already knew about that show. No, this is Harry Potter. The Harry Potter show on HBO Max is inching towards happening. But I couldn't help but notice this came like 3 days after J.K. Rowling's company was like 75% like down in profit or something stupid like that.
Because she's a massive word I'm not allowed to say on YouTube.
Yeah, she's not very nice, is she? She's
no. Terrible human being.
She's especially hateful. Yeah. So the main thing about this though is that it's not like a sequel thing. It's not set somewhere else. They're not doing Fantastic Beasts again, where they're going to try and do another corner of the universe. This would be an 7-season adaptation of the books. This would be remaking the same story that the movies did.
Which, on paper, I think makes sense. I think the book, it's naturally broken up into school years. I think that lends itself to
I
a TV season
I
format.
agree in a vacuum. I think because the movies exist though, I don't think it's been long enough. I think the last movie was what, 2011, something like that.
Yeah, all right.
2011, 2012, something like that. Right? It's been a
By the
bit.
time this comes out, probably about 15 years.
Yeah, by the time it eventually airs, probably about 15 years. Like this just goes along with like us being like everything's too quick now to come back. Like Spider-Man's like literally.
Hey, Spider-Man's had like two reboots in the time since we've had the last Harry Potter movie.
Well, no, that's what I'm getting at though. Is that Spider-Man literally had a new reboot, had a sequel to that reboot, and then joined the MCU. That reboot that started after the MCU started, and then it failed, and then we got the MCU version. So this is how quick things like happen now, and it kind of feels like to me like if you're doing this, it's not going to be that long before they're doing. That Lord of the Rings TV show didn't exactly light everyone's life on fire. Let's just do a new show, but it's just adapting the books again, even though everyone loves the trilogy. And I don't care about the trilogy. I don't care about the Harry Potter movies, but
I think part of the problem though is they're so tied to those versions being the iconic version. It's like, all right, okay, no one can really write a new Superman theme, right? Because no matter what, we're gonna go back to the John Williams theme. It's the same. Lord of the Rings. A lot of the visual style was established in those movies. That is the visual style of Lord of the Rings for the foreseeable future. And I think the TV show that we did have worked because it could use those things and it could keep that style and still be its own thing. The problem with this Harry Potter one is they can't just use the same style, right? Because otherwise, well, it is just the movie. They have to drastically change it, but they're not going to because they're so tied to that vision. They have that that style of architecture in their theme parks.
And they sell merch, like the robes that the kids wear and everything. Like they sell tons of those things.
We just had a game come out that was unrelated to the movies, but
Still look like the movie.
Exactly, it looks like the movie, give or take. Right, there's some creative license, but give or take, it's more or less the same. And the show, if you're redoing it, you have to justify why it's different, and that means making drastic changes. Are they going to change the way it looks? Are they going to completely change the music, or is it going to be we're going to use John Williams' music as a base, and we'll get someone new to do the rest? Because like John Williams only did the first, I want to say 3 Harry Potters, maybe 4, and then other people did the rest, but still using his themes as the base mark for like the rest of the entire franchise. And I think it's going to be the same, with this show, and which was fine for Fantastic Beasts. You can have people, use we can we can stay in that world because it's supposed to be in the same continuity. This here now is going to be so different in its continuity that I don't think they're going to be brave enough to make those choices to be different enough to make it feel different.
No, and it also wouldn't surprise
about the remake.
It also wouldn't surprise me if like they intentionally do little things that are like nods to the movies specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never read the book, so I don't even know what the.
I mean, I'm trying to think if there is anything specifically that you could nod to the movie that you can't just say, oh, well, it's referencing the book as well, really.
Like, it wouldn't shock me if, like, I don't know, maybe there's a reference to an actor who was in the movie or something, or something meta, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, I could see them pulling that kind of shit, as much as they can get away with. Harry Potter is just this weird thing to me. This IP, this franchise that just never appealed to me when it came out, and people my age loved it.
You hate whimsy, and those first movies in particular were very whimsical.
Yeah, I like whimsy. That's true. That's very true. It never appealed to me, and it became this juggernaut, and it's just I don't know. It's this weird thing to me that it exists and everyone loves it so much, and I've just never connected with it in any level.
It's one I'm a bit more aware. I did love it like a lot. When I was young, it was I must have been 7 or 8, something like that, when the first movie's coming out, and I'd already read the first couple of books by that point. I have vivid memories of going. I was actually I don't know which book. It must have been the fifth one. I was going on holiday at like 5 a.m. the next morning when that came out. So I had to go, and I was like, well, I wanted it for the 5 hour coach journey that I had for this holiday. So I had to queue up at midnight to go and get the book to then read it on the coach and then finish the whole thing on that coach journey. So like, but now it's like, well, J.K. Rowling is the previously aforementioned word I cannot say. It kind of ruins a lot of the enjoyment. I didn't even watch the last Fantastic Beasts movie. I watched the second one was just not that good, right? And
yeah, but given the box office, I don't think a lot of people watched that last Fantastic Beasts movie.
No, exactly. I liked the first one well enough, actually. It's not perfect, but I liked it. The second one, I was like, well, that was fine. That was, whatever. And then by the time the third one came out, I just thought, I don't care anymore. Which is, for me, was a little bit sad because, like I say, it was a franchise that I liked a lot. And now it's like, yeah, I see this news. Oh, and like I said, on paper, it's like, yeah, on paper that this should be, better, more faithful adaptations of the books. Especially some of those movies adapted the books better than others. 4 was a mess. Was a terrible movie. No, terrible adaptation. We'll not say it's a terrible movie, but it was a terrible adaptation. The difference. Whereas 5 was probably one of the less faithful versions, but also for the best. Like it really knew what to cut in a good way.
Also, the books typically get thicker as they go, more or less. So I do wonder if the first couple of seasons might almost struggle and have to add in more than it's rather than having been able to adapt everything the movies didn't. I feel like the first couple might actually have to add in more stuff to fill out the 10 episodes or whatever.
You'd want to go. Ideally, you'd be going with the the Expanse route of we can get 2 books in this season.
But like you said, it fits the school seasons.
It does. It really does.
Yeah, they're going to do it. Each start of season will be the start of the school year, end with the end of the school year.
Most, if not all, of the books, not count the last one because they don't really follow the school year at all. But most of them have a little bit at the start before the school year, like the end of the summer, and then you have the school year, up to your Christmas break, and they end. They don't follow the summer at the end. They end as the school year ends, pretty much. Almost all of them do that exclusively, like that exact formula, and that fits really neatly for a TV show. You can have your first episode kind of be, okay, you got your end of summer stuff, kind of work back in, but yeah, it's hard to be excited for this.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine, just based on my memory, which is admittedly not great at the first movie. I'm just trying to imagine what the end of episode 1 cliffhanger is.
If I'm doing it, the first episode, the early, the baby Harry being delivered stuff, that's your pre-credits, so your intro scene.
I thought you were going to say that's the end of the episode. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? No. What the hell else you did for the other hour?
No, and then I think you do. No, I'll tell you where you end it. You end it on you're a wizard, Harry.
Hagrid. Okay.
Yeah. So you have Hagrid. You have all them trying. There's all that stuff that's them trying to contact them. The book has a little bit more in this that you can kind of go with in the movie. So to stretch it out to an hour or 40 minutes easier, and it ends. Hagrid comes in and they're like, who the hell are you? What's going on here? You're a wizard, Harry. Credits. I think that's what you do for the first episode. At least that's what I'd do.
Yeah. Well, it's probably going to happen because it will
make them money.
It will be successful enough. I mean, the only potential problem is that everyone doesn't like the new versions of all the characters enough that they kind of, people turn on it effectively. There is a possibility of that, but
I think what I'll say is you're guaranteed the first season. This 100% will happen.
Oh yeah, that no, obviously it will. I'm saying the pitfalls of doing it though is that you could in effect sully the brand even more, and because we're in a weird place where Fantastic Beasts did a lot of damage, right? And effectively, what's happening now is that J.K. Rowling, her cash cow, is Harry Potter itself. Everything that's sort of came after and everything else she's done, everything she's tried to do to sort of extend it, not so much. But Harry Potter itself and all the merch that comes from Harry Potter, the core thing, still a cash cow. So, yeah.
Yeah, by all accounts, the game sold pretty well.
I imagine it did, yeah.
Yeah. And I've not really played much of it, but it seems like a perfectly fine game. Like, it doesn't seem like a terrible game. A little bit standard open world, looter shooter almost, but it's not a bad game from what I can tell. Just maybe not that inspired either.
Yeah, it sounds a bit boring.
But that sounds like a lot of big AAA games. Let's be fair to it. That's not just a Harry Potter problem.
Sounds like an Ubisoft game for your choice.
It's a little bit, yeah. But there's still a scale of good Ubisoft games and bad ones in that style. And this is like, it's fine from what I can tell. Again, I've played like 20 minutes.
So you made a character, that's what you tell.
I got through all the intro, and then so basically I rented it. Well, Paige rented it. It arrived while we were moving. I had no internet, so you obviously can't do the day one patch. It lets you play far enough to do the intro section, and it goes, all right, it's like, all right, okay, Hogwarts time, let's go. And then it's like, you need to install the day one patch to play any further. Like, it just literally just comes up that and boots you out of the game after about 20, 30 minutes. And then I just didn't go back.
This is why buying physical games now is pointless. It's just it's a coaster. Yeah. It's a coaster with an access key on it to let you download it.
But they are sometimes cheaper, which is why I do it.
I mean, that's like the only benefit now.
And for me, I rent a lot of games.
Yeah, but that
especially single player things like that.
That is it though. That is the only. That's the idea of like collecting, because I'll have it in the future if everything goes down. Well, no, it's because some of them do that. Some of them just kick you out.
Yeah. That concept of it is dead.
Okay, well, let's move on from Harry Potter, because I really don't want to talk about it anymore.
You want to talk about Star Wars instead?
Not really.
I might cheer you up.
Oh, really? We're not in the section to talk about the Star Wars thing. You can add it on at the end, you little prick.
No, we should have done it earlier, but fine.
Star Wars, I mean, at least I like the original trilogy. I'll say that for Star Wars. As opposed to Harry Potter, where I feel nothing for any of it.
And then are there none of the other movies you would say you like?
For Star Wars?
Yeah, outside the original trilogy.
I enjoyed Force Awakens well enough when I saw it in 2015. I suspect if I tried to watch it again now, I might not like it as much.
That's fair, because that was right at the start of the nostalgia reboot sequel series. I think that's kind of in hindsight after a lot of others. It probably doesn't hold up as well for people.
I think I would notice a lot of the trends that it started, and it would probably bother me a lot more. And also, there's the problem of knowing how they just kind of like do nothing with all the characters that they introduce, which is a problem too. So yeah, and it's not a complete standalone story, so you can't even just enjoy it on that level either.
No, Last Jedi, if I remember from the time, you like it more as a movie, you respect what it's doing, you just dislike some of the pacing and stuff mostly. Pacing,
and just like, I don't like that it feels like a series of side plots.
Yeah.
That was my big problem with it. I mean, I'll take it night and day over Rise of Skywalker, which is just a dumpster fire of shit. But
every time I think about that movie, I like it a little bit less.
But I don't, yeah.
Did you ever watch Solo?
No, not seen it yet.
I would love to see you watch Solo.
I'll be doing it eventually, because we'll have to do it in Ace at some point.
Yeah,
because we had Star Wars, so I think we're doing Empire sometime in the next few months. So
that makes sense. It's Jedi's 40th this year, I think.
Oh, is it?
So maybe you should do Jedi this year as well.
This doesn't seem unfeasible.
No.
I'll bring that up to my correspondent.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll approve.
All right. Next up, speaking of things being rebooted.
Oh God, more.
Yes, Cruel Intentions has been in the works. Again? Well, so the last thing they tried was a sequel series to the movie starring Sarah Michelle Gellar, who, of course, was the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Well, she was in it. She was the hit television series. She's like Walter White. I am the one that knocks. I am the head television show. Right, so that was like a sequel, bringing people back type of show. This is not. This is actually going to. This is like a fresh reboot, readapting the source material kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this was in works at Amazon Freevee for the last year or two. Although now it seems like it might just be on Prime proper, which kind of makes sense. I feel like they'd want to go higher profile with it.
Yeah, it's like kind of a cult movie, right? It's pretty. It's pretty loved by its fans, but I don't think its fan base is that huge.
Yeah, I don't think there's any risk of this in the sense that, yeah, people who like the movie will probably check it out to see what it's like, but I think there's more of a potential for a new audience to this than there is for a big, massive, like, oh, there's back, everyone's going to see it kind of thing.
Because I don't know, I love the movie. I want to clarify. I don't necessarily think it's a great movie, but I love it. And I'll be like, yeah, sure. If they make another, a TV show, it's like, sure, I'll check it out.
I don't remember having strong feelings on it one way or the other, to be honest. But
there's a few movies that like around that period, like that. Empire Records, I love. That's another one that, again, it's not necessarily a good movie, but I think it's just like when I want a specific type of movie that's just I want to watch something like that. These are like the go-tos. That Heathers. It's obviously a bit more popular than the others, I think. But yeah.
Well, I feel like I've seen the first 10 minutes of Cruel Intentions 2 like 8 times, just because it was always on the cable movie channels.
And then you're like, okay, I'm bored now.
Sorry?
And then you went, okay, I'm bored now.
Yeah.
And turned over to something else.
Yeah. So yes, a series adaptation set in Washington D.C. comes from writers Phoebe Fisher and Sarah Goodman. And this reincarnation of the premise, which is rooted in the novel Les Liaisons Dangereuses by Chaudeleu de Lercios. I can't speak French.
Screw the French, it's fine.
Two ruthless step siblings will do anything to stay on top of each other? Question mark? No?
I mean, sometimes.
In this case, of the Greek life hierarchy at the elite Washington, D.C. college. After a brutal hazing incident threatens the entire Panhellenic system, they'll do whatever's necessary to preserve their power and reputations. Even seduce the daughter of the vice president of the United States. I thought I was going to say vice president of the school.
I did as well.
Yeah, United States. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Really aiming up high. All right.
Well, if you're gonna remake it, you gotta like turn it up a few notches.
I suppose. Yeah, I'm not interested. Like, it sounds like a sleazy show.
It's that's the movie, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's the sort of thing where even if the movie's good, and I don't really remember if I thought it was very good, but even if it was good, it's the sort of thing where I feel like that's kind of a lightning in the bottle thing where the right creators had the right tone with the right style and made it work. I can just see the, slightly
committee coming in.
The slightly sexed up CW version of this that will be on Amazon,
That's what I'm expecting from this as well.
Yeah.
So not high hopes. Like I said, I'll probably check it out out of curiosity, but definitely not high hopes.
It'll be CW with nipples, let's be honest. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, probably.
All right. Robert De Niro is attached to star in a Billy Ray penned crime drama series that's in the works at Paramount Plus. It's called Bobby Meritorious, an original series that comes from Paramount Television Studios. They got it in a competitive situation, and as part of the deal, so this is adapting a book called Doing Justice: A Prosecutor's Thoughts on Crime, Punishment, and the Rule of Law. So you can see why they changed the title. So the series is set amid the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, which is a sovereign kingdom with seemingly unlimited power and scope. But now an informant in SDNY's biggest case, Avery the Sage Accomando, played by De Niro, is poised to tear this storied institution apart. Only one man can stop him, a fabled ex-cop turned prosecutor, affectionately known as Bobby Meritorious. The battle between these two giants is a fight for justice itself. I appreciate the attempts, but that still sounded as dry as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, thank you. Was it De Niro that just a few weeks ago we were talking about how it's his first TV role?
Yep. This is the second limited series.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden,
yeah.
You wait for one, and then two come at once.
It's just another sign of how things have changed. Like actors in like the 70s and 80s who were movie stars wouldn't catch themselves dead being on TV because that was lowering themselves.
That was career death.
Yeah. Now it's like, a prestigious limited series. Oh yeah, that was good for your career. That'll give you some acting, stretching your legs.
Yeah, it's these days it's a good way to a little vehicle to showcase an actor and like, hey, you got even more time in this when you get a movie.
You get him for Cruel Intentions. You can go around investigating the nipples, see if they can be milked.
Yeah. As a reference to how old's that movie now? It's got to be at least 20 years.
Beat the Parents, yeah, it's about 2000-ish. Yeah. It's only because I had nipples in the brain from the last time.
Yeah. I know. I was just not expecting the reference to that of all things.
That joke always kind of annoyed me a little bit because I'm like, there's a comeback for it. Because he says you can milk out of nipples, and he says, I've got nipples, Greg, can you milk me? What he should have said to that is, well, no, only the females could be milked.
Yeah.
You can milk any female with nipples. Robert, you dumb son of a bitch.
I just like De Niro's entire filmography. As you went to Meet the Parents reference.
Well, a Taxi Driver reference didn't seem to fit.
Well, you didn't try hard enough.
All right, next up, Amazon Studios is developing Koreatown, a 1-hour drama set in LA's Koreatown from writer executive producer Jin Hong, who worked on Magnum PI, and Alan Yang, who worked on Loop. Written by Hong, Koreatown centers on two Korean American brothers, a savvy nightclub owner and a recovering addict, who must put aside their complicated past and run a drug operation in order to keep their dying mother alive.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add.
Yeah.
There's nothing to make fun of. It's written competently well enough.
Yeah.
They dodged any. They technically bring up professional and personal lives, but they dodge any.
They don't hit the cliche phrasing, so it's like, okay, yeah.
So yeah, they got around it, so that's fine.
I mean, it's a show. It doesn't sound like it's for me, I can't help but feel Breaking Bad vibes.
Oh sure.
Let's turn to a drug empire essentially to in this case, was it to try and save the dying mother? But it's not that different to I'm dying from cancer. I need to leave money for my family.
I'll probably have a different tone. I mean,
yeah, probably. But that description, just again, I think you could write a description for Breaking Bad that on paper is very similar to that.
All right, Orlando Bloom is going to play an American linguist in a series based on Maggie O'Farrell's This Must Be the Place.
I forgot he was a person.
Is Orlando Bloom American?
I don't know. I
thought he was English for some reason. Maybe he is, but it's just because he's playing an American linguist, it just sounds a bit weird to cast someone who's not American to do that.
No, he is English.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Bold move. Hopefully he can do the accent well.
Yeah, he's from Kent.
He's very English then, okay.
Yeah, I like typical posh southerner. Right,
okay. So he's playing an American linguist, as you do. So he's going to executive produce as well. It's in the works at Amazon. We're back to Amazon again. So Susan Heathcote, who served as showrunner on the third season of Killing Eve, is going to write and executive produce the adaptation. The book follows Daniel Sullivan, who leads a complicated life, a New Yorker living in the wilds of Ireland. So he's going to be a New Yorker. He's an Englishman playing a New Yorker living in Ireland.
Okay, tell me more.
Good luck. He has children. He has children he never sees that live in California, a father he loathes in Brooklyn, and his wife Claudette, a reclusive ex-film star given to pulling a gun on anyone who ventures up their doorway. Together, they have made an idyllic life in the country, but a secret from Daniel's past threatens to destroy their meticulously constructed and fiercely protected home. Secret from the past. That's definitely.
Thank you, Orlando Bloom. You never fail.
I'm getting married couple Banshees of Inisherin here from this.
That's just because it's set in Ireland.
Yes.
There is nothing else about that even sounds remotely like that movie.
And if we can pull off a New Yorker who's got a slight Irish twang because he's been living there for a while, I'll be impressed.
Yeah, I will be as well. I don't hate Orlando Bloom. Let me just make this very clear. I don't think he's that bad. But I do not have faith in his abilities to pull that specific scenario off.
This is how we sound in Arizona. Okay. That was a What We Do in the Shadows reference for anyone who didn't get it. Alright, Netflix has ordered a show called Tall Pines, an 8-episode limited series from Mae Martin, Ryan Scott, Ben Farrell, and his Objective Fiction and Sphere Media. So Martin will serve as creator, co-showrunner, and executive producer, and he will also play the lead role in the series. And it's one of the first original series that Netflix has ordered from Canada. So,
wait, really?
That's something.
That can't possibly be true.
Well, it says first commissions for Netflix Canada, so maybe it's just since they created a division called Netflix Canada, this is the first thing they've done.
Because the amount of TV shows that shoot in Canada because cheap.
Well, they should, yeah, but they're not Canadian productions though. They're American-funded productions that just happen to shoot in Canada.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
There is, but given the amount of worldwide content that Netflix has, it's surprising to me that they haven't got more Canadian content.
Yes.
I don't know. It feels like it would have been an easy next step from where they were.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll order Orange is the New Black any day now.
It's terrible. That was so bad.
House of Cards
Well, they've got to remake that at some point, let's be honest.
Yeah, but Canadian House of Cards, like, no one could be as evil as Frank was in House of Cards in the Canadian version. They're all
I love it. Like, okay, the original British one, yeah, okay, that makes sense. The American one, yeah, that makes sense. Canadian one, nah,
not possible.
Like, you should do the Aussie one next.
Instead of, like, goading your employees into sexual encounters, it'll be accidentally brushing against them, going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, we made contact." Yeah. That'll be the Canadian. Anyway, The Tall Pines is a thriller set in a bucolic but sinister town that explores the insidious underbelly of the troubled teen industry, and the eternal struggle between one generation and the next.
Like troubled teen, I would assume it would be like, runaways, things like that. But industry,
yeah, that implies they're like being used for something or whatever.
Do they have a union?
I highly doubt it.
Oh, maybe they should get a union.
All right, Disney Plus is unveiled a German original about a teenager who falls in love with the devil. This comes from.
I'm in.
This comes from the team behind Netflix's How to Sell Drugs Online. So it's called Pauline, is the name of the show, and it follows the eponymous protagonist, an 18-year-old who accidentally becomes pregnant from a one-night stand. With school stress, the climate crisis, and the downfall of society weighing heavily on her mind, something she doesn't need at all right now is catching feelings, especially since the guy she hooked up with is the devil.
This sounds stupid and I love it.
Yes. I lost like the end of that description a little bit. Luckily I remembered what it was.
Probably could have guessed where it was going, yeah.
I'm sure it told me the name of the guy who's the devil, but he's devil, he's Satan. It's fine, just go with it. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. But Disney Plus are branching out and making weird shit, so there you go.
I'm all for it.
Hulu, they are developing a show with Sterling K. Brown, who's going to star in it. It's untitled, but it comes from Dan Fogelman, who's creating it. spec script by him, and was reviewed by Hulu, and they're all for it, apparently. But they're all keeping hush hush. There's no synopsis yet, so there's not much to say. But Sterling K. Brown's in a new show at Hulu is the news.
Okay, I have no strong opinion because there is no
There's
strong
nothing,
story.
yeah, there's nothing to have an opinion about. I completely agree.
I like him well enough as an actor. I'm sure he'll be good, even if it's a terrible show.
All right, which takes us on to the last news story of the week. And we're at a network though. Fox has given a straight to series order to a medical procedural drama called
Oh God, what is it?
Doc.
Is that it?
Yeah, DOC, Doc.
Someone must have used that already.
Apparently not. A US adaptation of a popular Italian series called Doc. Actually, the full title is Doc Nel to Mani. It's going to premiere in the 2023-2024 season. It's coming from writer, executive producer, showrunner Barbie Kligman from the recent Magnum PI. The original Doc series created and produced by Le Vide, a fermental company that centers on a male doctor with amnesia, played by Luca Argentero. In the US version, the lead is undergoing a gender swap. Foxy's Doc centers on the hard-charging, brilliant Dr. Amy Elias, chief of internal and family medicine at Westside Hospital in Minneapolis. After a brain injury erases the last 8 years of her life, Amy must navigate an unfamiliar world where she has no recollection of her patients she's treated, colleagues she's crossed, the soulmate she divorced, and the man she now loves, and the tragedy that caused her to push everyone away. She can really only rely on her estranged 70-year-old daughter, whom she remembers as a 9-year-old, and a handful of devoted friends as she struggles to continue practicing medicine despite having lost nearly a decade of knowledge and experience. But notably, still her medical training. The medical school years are still there.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds miserable.
I actually think there's an okay concept in the middle of all that. It's just, this is not going to be good. Like,
no, not on Fox.
The idea that you remember your kid as a 9-year-old and they're now like 18 is actually, okay, there's an interesting story to play there. But the way they're doing this, there's a mystery to like why she like turned everyone away before she lost her memory and she's going to have to discover it. That just sounds tedious.
Yeah, that's so TV. It's like, could she not just lost her memory? It's fine.
Yep.
That was enough of a premise already.
Yeah. Also, was there a personal and professional in there?
Was it worded as a personal and professional?
Well, I mean, we must navigate an unfamiliar world. No recollection of the patient she's treated, colleagues she's crossed, or the soulmate she's divorced.
Oh yeah, you know what? Maybe I will give that one.
That feels on the cusp to me.
Yeah. I'll go on, screw it. It's the last story.
It's the last story, yes.
Why not?
Why not?
I don't need an excuse.
Well, there you go. That's the news for the week. Hopefully you've enjoyed the tangents and rambles as we went.
And we've got one more yet.
Oh yeah, Carl was talking about some Star Wars.
I do want to talk about some Star Wars shite. Because there's like Star Wars shite. How do you not want to talk about that?
It was mostly movie stuff. What was the TV?
So the TV stuff, they gave us release windows for a few things.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we got the trailer for Ahsoka, which I thought looked pretty solid. It was so obviously there's a lot of characters from Rebels that they're doing in live action now for the first time. You know, Hera, Chopper, Sabine, Thrawn. We get glimpses of some of those. What is that face for?
I just, the way you said all those names, like I would recognize any of them.
If you were going to recognize one, it might have been Thrawn because he was like the big villain, and he was like the one. If you've heard of anything from the old EU stuff, the pre-Disney stuff, it was the Heir to the Empire trilogy. That was like one of the big things, and he was the villain in that. Beloved villain from Star Wars lore, outside of the movies. He was brought back in Rebels. It was voiced by oh my god, Mads Mikkelsen's brother, whose first name I am completely blanking on. But it was Mads Mikkelsen's brother, and did a very good job.
Serge.
It's not that, but hey, why not? Let's go with it.
Go on.
Yeah, and he was great on that show. And obviously, this show is a kind of it's a sequel to Rebels, and it's fun seeing some of those characters just even in a trailer. Just oh yeah, okay, it's nice seeing them. Mary Elizabeth Winstead as one of them. That's nice. Love her. And that's coming in August, so looking forward to that. They mentioned Andor. They're aiming for season 2 to be August of next year. They basically said they're shooting it now. They're planning on shooting all the way up till August this year, and then about a year on post. The other show, what was it called? It's the Jude Law one, Skeleton Crew. That is still aiming for this year. I would expect probably the end of this year. If Ahsoka's coming in August, that'll probably be 8. Let's say 8 episodes. Like if it's the same as Mandalorian. So yeah, I'd probably expect November, maybe December for Skeleton Crew. That's the one that's Jude Law and a bunch of kids.
Okay.
And they've likened it to 80s Amblin movies like the Goonies. So I'm very intrigued to see what that is because they've not given us even a teaser trailer or anything yet. Nothing.
I'm glad you said Amblin movie and not the Catholic Church.
Yeah. There's a big distinction.
Wasn't Jude Law the Pope in something? I feel like he played a Pope.
Was he a Pope?
Not in real life, but I think he played a Pope.
No, obviously not. Yes, Jude Law the Pope. Famously was the last Pope.
I can picture him with the red and black
Oh, he was
costume on.
The young Pope.
There you go. Yeah.
The new Pope?
The young Pope.
I've got the new. I've got two different things. One's the young Pope, and one's the new Pope. Did he play a Pope twice?
Maybe there was a sequel or something. I don't know.
No, he's played the Pope. He's played 2 popes.
The Pope Strikes Back.
Or is it the? I'm so confused. Maybe it just has different titles. I don't know. He's at least played 1 pope. It was that TV miniseries. For sure. I think it was a HBO show or Showtime. One of them.
Aye.
But yeah.
So new Star Wars show. He's the Pope. He's got a bunch of kids with him.
He's Dumbledore. He's Dumbledore the Pope, and he's got some kids.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was Dumbledore in the last Fantastic Beasts movies.
That sounds right. I think he was. Yes.
Those movies really made no impact. But yeah, no, I'm definitely intrigued to see what that is. And then they mentioned the Acolyte, which is the other show, which is the High Republic one. Still working on that. It's due 2024. They are, it's in active production. It's well underway. I assume they're shooting that at the minute. But yeah, not too much news on that one. But the Ahsoka trailer was the big one. I'm very intrigued because I'm less keen on this current season of Mandalorian. It felt very aimless. It's very much felt okay. I'm torn. Part of it is Andor was so much better than any other Star Wars live action show we've had, like by far. I don't know if this coming after that has just like, it's just not feeling as good, or if it's just hey, we kind of resolved our big season 2 emotional beats in a different show, and then just didn't address it at all in season 3, and we're just pretending nothing happened, and it really feels like there was some executive okay. I've not watched the last episode yet. I'm going to watch that after we're done here. But it feels like you could remove Baby Yoda entirely and nothing about any of the plot changes whatsoever. And it feels like there was a Disney executive that kind of went, no, fix it. Put him back in. He sells merchandise. We need him. That's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. And yeah, it's very superfluous. It's lost a lot of the direction that it had in the first 2 seasons because of that specific journey with those characters, and a season without him,
I think I can't believe I have something to chime in here, but I think I saw while I was looking for news an interview with either the creator or someone at Disney saying basically how there's no end in sight. If an audience keeps wanting more Mandalorian, we'll keep making it. Which to me feels like a red flag because it's like, well, so you don't have an end game in mind or a map or.
I didn't see that, so I can't address it specifically. But that comment feels at odds with. Okay, I have to touch on the movie news here just for the context here.
Okay.
One of the movies they announced was Dave Filoni doing a live action movie, and Dave Filoni, he's the guy behind. He did Clone Wars and Rebels, and he's basically co-running this Mandalorian show with Jon Favreau, and between Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, all of that is like the Dave Filoni verse almost. It's like its own little subsection of Star Wars at this point. And they announced a movie of him capping off his stuff. So that kind of feels like that has to end the Mandalorian, like with that movie, if it's not over already.
I mean, I think this was before Celebration, so maybe that was just
maybe, yeah. They did mention. I mean, one of the producers in an interview at Celebration kind of addressed the fact that Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian isn't necessarily the titular Mandalorian anymore. Because I know that like at the end of season 2, and it was like, oh yeah, Boba Fett will return in the Book of Boba Fett. There was about 3 weeks before they announced that the actual show, where there was some debate as to whether or not it would be a different show or if it would just be, this is what Mandalorian season 3 is, because hey, Boba Fett's a Mandalorian. We can just have, rotate it being, a different Mandalorian that we're following. And they've kind of been doing that this season anyway. Like, at least 50% of the focus has been on Bo-Katan, a different Mandalorian from, I think she was introduced in Clone Wars. I'm pretty sure she was introduced in the Clone Wars show.
wasn't the White Life here.
Yeah. But you see, this is the thing. It gets convoluted. It gets deep in the weeds. I'm following all this, and I'm like, okay, I'm following all this. Yeah, I've been watching Clone Wars and Rebels, when they aired. But my God, if you come into this new Star Wars movie that he's making, that's meant to be a capper to all of this stuff, not having watched any of this.
Yeah, out of the 3 movies they announced, that one was a kind of instant, just like, well, I'm never going to be interested in that because I don't care about all this TV nonsense. The one set 15 years after the sequels were raised, like rebuilding the Jedi Council, sounds like the most creatively just dull move. Like, there's nothing exciting about that.
I get where you're coming from. I'm interested, obviously, because I'm a Star Wars fan, but I understand the skepticism for that one.
Yeah. So the other one's the only one that sounds like it's got any potential, which
James Mangold doing Dawn of the Jedi stuff, basically.
Yeah. Oh, don't call it Dawn of the Jedi, because that just makes me think of Dawn of Justice.
I call it Dawn of the Jedi just because there are books and stuff that used to be set in that era. Like in the, I don't think Disney have published any in that time period, but pre-Disney, the old EU had books that were set like like tens of thousands of years before, and they were kind of called like Dawn of the Jedi. That series. So that's just why I'm using that as shorthand. I don't know if they actually used that phrase specifically.
Oh well. All right, you got your Star Wars talk in there.
All I'm saying is, they might make you watch the first episode of Ahsoka anyway.
I mean, they may, but
yeah. I stand by. You should go back and watch Andor. Like legitimately, not just good Star Wars, good TV.
I've got other things I need to watch though, so it's it's fine. All right, that'll wrap up the TV news for the week though. Let us know what you thought of the stories that popped up this week, and of course you can support the content by going to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and supporting us over there, or of course hitting us with a super thanks on YouTube if that's more your thing. But any and all support is appreciated. But that is the show for the week. Thank you once again for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?